Hey guys, I just wanted to let you guys know that this video this week is a clip from my podcast episode, Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. I would love for y'all to continue to check it out. I was mad because when I was recording it, I thought I set up at a perfect angle, but when I went to go edit, I was like, why is my head chopped off? So I'm still going to let y'all see it. And y'all can also follow the podcast on Spotify, Amazon, all of the podcast platforms. So yeah, let's get into it, y'all. Hey guys, welcome back to another podcast episode by yours truly, Siera Vernice. And y'all, not only are we recording a new entire episode for a new entire name, but I am actually doing a visual as well. So I got to try to remember to look at the camera and not just look at the computer for the recording. Y'all, I am super excited. I have been sitting on this for quite some time. So I decided, you know what, for the first video, for the first new podcast episode, let's make this a YouTube video and let's also make this a podcast audio for our listeners. Now, before we get into it, because I know y'all looking and y'all like, wait, what's going on? What's this? This new, right? For my people that's listening on the audio, this is completely new. We are no longer self-expressed with Love Kills. And I know I told y'all this before and how we were going to try to change some things around and really just ultimately develop into a bigger brand, greater messages, same messages, but even greater and more amplified. So this is officially Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. I came up with the name. I think me and Kenya came up with the name. She kind of helped me. But I thought of the idea of allowing the space to be an open space where we get vulnerable, we get raw, we get honest, and we really dig into who we are as people and how we can ultimately develop into a better version. So same message, same goal, same things, but we turn it up a little notch. I am looking to get more guests on this podcast because this is open spaces. So we are in an open space. We are super ecstatic about everything that is coming new. We are officially in the year 2025, which I am super ecstatic and happy about as well. So I know I'm going to be looking at the camera and I know I'm going to be looking at the computer. It's a lot, and I got notes over here. I got my smoothie, y'all, it's a lot happening, but I'm going to make sure that y'all get the information that y'all need for today. In this episode that I want to talk about for the first episode of 2025, because I have been slacking at the end of 2024, but we already know that things happen. I'm here. Okay. I'm here. So before I get started and dive into the actual episode, let me pull up my notes first before I sit here and lie to y'all. So of course, y'all know we got to do a recap, and I also want to reflect on the year 2024. Now, as you see the title of this video in this episode, I feel like it's super, super important to not only set new goals for the new year, but also to reflect and sit back and think of the things and the lessons that we have learned in the year previous. I have always strived to be like, for this year, let me set my New Year's resolution. Let me set my goals. Let me do this. Let me make my vision board. All of the things, right? All of the things that we do, and we all do them. It's just what we were always seeing in the world and society. And we just decided to, jump up on it and do the same thing. But here's the thing that a lot of people do not talk about and they do not realize. Before you go to set your New Year goals, whether it's 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, and beyond, right? Before you go to set those new goals, you need to really sit back and think about the things that you did not do, that you strived to do the year before, and why you weren't able to do them. So I really want to reflect on 2024 for a second. I'm going to give you a recap of my year overall. I didn't go back and listen to the episode from the end of the year last year or 2023 for my word for 2024, but I feel like I do remember my first podcast episode of 2024 was the rebirth of 2024. I remember that because I remember I did that with Kenya at the beginning of last year. So it might have been something around those lines. I knew and I kept feeling and I kept saying, like, I'm going through a transformation. I am changing, I'm evolving. And now I feel like I'm actually living it, y'all. um, so for my year, just a little recap. I took a year off in business. I really didn't plan on taking a year off in business, but it just so happened to be that way. Um, I just kept feeling the tug on my heart, on, my body, on my mind. Like, you know what? I actually don't want to do marketing anymore. I don't mind still helping people who need help with marketing, but I do not want that to be my meat and potatoes of my income, of my business. So I know that I need to kind of switch it up. And I sat and I thought, and I'm like, well, what should I really do? And I'm coming up with all these different ideas and doing these things. And then I sat back and I realized, I said, well, wait, if we go back to the basics of who I was from the very beginning as a business owner, when I first started making products, my main mission was to make products for people to wear, women in particular, young Black women in particular, to feel beautiful, to feel confident, to learn how to love themselves, to learn how to take care of themselves. That was the message that I always felt like I had to spread, because I was the girl who was misunderstood. I was the girl who felt like she had low self-esteem. I had low confidence, all of the things, right? So I said, you know what? Instead of me trying to create something completely new, why don't I go back to my very first mission? I'm not going to incorporate them products because I love being a service-based business. No shade to the physical product businesses. I love y'all as well. But me, it's just easier to sell myself as a service, and obviously make my prices what they are based upon the service, okay? The product and making the products and inventory. And I would just rather not, okay? So I really want us to not only reflect on how we did last year, but I want us to see the things that we also have done in the previous year that didn't really help us get to our goals. So we can focus on doing that and amplifying and, working on that a little bit harder in 2025. So as I reflected and I realized, you know what, let me go back to the basics. I had realized, okay, well, I also need to look to see why my 2024 or why my 2023 wasn't as strong as I needed to be, because those were definitely 2 years where I was just like, I'm getting there, but I'm not getting there. Like I felt like how I kept saying in 2024 or 2023, how I kept saying going into 2024, I feel a tug, I feel a pull, I feel a shift in my life, but I don't know what it is that I'm missing. And for me, and I'll go over this in my list of things that I have learned of lessons, the main thing that was missing was discipline and consistency. And if you do know anything about discipline or consistency, which I'm going to do a whole entire video on YouTube for discipline and consistency, because I feel like people hear the word all the time, just like we talked about being intentional in the YouTube video previous. Also, for my audio people, make sure y'all go check out my YouTube channel at Siera Vernice. We are diving into the meat and potatoes when it comes to personal development and ultimately becoming a better version of yourself. So if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and go over there and subscribe. You can actually see the visual of this episode if you would like to. I honestly like audio. I like moving around, but sometimes if I'm sitting back on my couch, I like to watch people do their podcast interviews as well. So pick your poison. Either way, it's the same message. It's the same stuff. But anyway, back to what I was saying, because y'all know I be getting off track and whatnot. Um, what was I saying? See, okay. Okay. So going into 2024, I was leaving 2023, and I was reflecting. And I was like, discipline and consistency are my two things that I lack. And I have the consistency and the momentum for a little bit, and then I'm disciplined. I'm sharp. I'm on my toes. I'm making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing constantly, and then something happened, and then I stop. Right, and that's majority of humans. Like it's just inevitable. Like it's going to happen. But you have to train your mind to be disciplined. You have to train your mind to be consistent. I have learned that the only reason that most people do not achieve their dreams and reach their goals is because they stop working towards them, whether it's family life that comes in a way, or whether it's laziness, or whether it's procrastination, or just the lack of discipline and focus. So I know that those are my two things that have been constantly holding me back from being where I want to be, right? And I take a look back at me ending 2024, and I said, I actually want to go back to the year 2021. Like, I don't want a new year, right? I want to relive 2021 if I could. Now, I don't really care about the end of 2021 because that's when things start to crumble. But 2021, beginning of the year up until about September, I'll take it. Okay. 2021 was the year that I hit my first six figures. 2021 was the year that I opened up my store. 2021 was the year that I showed up and showed out. I built my community. I was just in it, like, and the energy was there. Um, the glow was there, as many say nowadays that I have a glow. The glow was there, the happiness was there, the joyfulness was there. And ultimately, I really was open and ready to share my message with everybody else and show other people that, you know, I'm your girl, okay? I'm your girl. But I really decided that, you know what, let's redo 2021, but let's do it a little bit more greater. Let's do it with the things that you've learned over the last 3 years. Let's do it with the discipline, with the focus, with the consistency. And that's what I'm doing, y'all. So 2024 was not a bad year for me. And honestly and truly, I can say I learned a lot. I sat still a lot. I got closer to God. I was able to just identify what was for me, what wasn't for me. And my word for the year, because I always like to name my word for the year every single year, and I do it on the podcast because I make sure that y'all see what I'm doing for myself, and I also can stick and hold myself accountable for the things that I am working towards. So for 2025, my word of the year, and I kind of have like a phrase, but is to so my word is alignment. Let me start there, right? My word is alignment. And I want to say that my word is alignment because I have constantly, from 2022 till 2024, I have constantly did things that weren't in place of what I wanted. It was in place of what other people wanted, or what other people wanted for me, or what other people perceived me to be, or even me just being a people pleaser that I was, because I'm not claiming that no more. um, that pretty much doing things for other people. And I had to start to realize that this is my life. This is Siera's life, and this is your life. Whoever is listening to this, man, woman, child, whoever, okay? This is your life, and you literally have to own it. And you have to be the person that's going to say, you know what? I got to take control of the things that I can control, and I need to move the way that I need to move in order for me to get to where I need to be. So, my word for the year is alignment. And if I could put a phrase into it, I would want to say that I want my life for 2025 to be the life that God sees for it to be. And ultimately, that's me being aligned, that's me being focused, that's me being consistent, that's me showing up and doing what I need to do. So that's my recap for 2024. And like I said, this episode and this video is also going to talk about the 10 lessons that I've learned in 2024, because you cannot think that you're going to go into a new year and do all the new things and, oh, I'm going to achieve this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. I said this on live the other day, on Friday on Instagram. And I said, people don't realize that they constantly set new goals every single year. But if you sit back and you reflect and you think, well, how many goals did I actually accomplish the year before that I set out to do? Let me go look back at my vision board from last year and see, what did I actually X off? What did I cross off? What did I do? Right? Most of the times it's nothing. It's nothing, right? And what we do is we often find ourselves setting brand new goals when that's not the case. What we need to do is we need to go back to the year before that, look at the goals that we didn't achieve and put them on the list for the next year, right? We always want to keep creating new goals when in reality, we need to focus on the goals that we did not accomplish. Do not create new ones when you did not accomplish the old ones, okay? So that's that, because y'all know I'll come in here and preach, okay? I will come in here and preach. Before I pull up the 10 lessons that I have learned, and I'm going to kind of elaborate and talk into some of the uh, some of the lessons a little bit deeper. Some I'll give examples for, because y'all know I'm an example type girly. But before I get into that, I just want to make sure that I remind y'all to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you are not following the podcast show on the audio, version of the podcast, make sure that you follow the show. Make sure that you never miss a beat of the podcast. Because y'all, I know I've been slacking, but again, showing up and doing what I am supposed to do, being in alignment with what God has for me. I am showing up. I am making sure that I am executing. Now, YouTube, we have videos dropping every Friday. I believe I'm going to withhold this podcast episode because I normally drop my episodes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But I'm going to withhold this audio until Friday so that it can drop with the same episode as, or the same video as YouTube. But I do want to keep the same sequence of the podcast, the audio version. I would love, 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 love to keep the Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I'm not going to make y'all no promises coming in that that's going to be the case because I'm doing a whole lot, right? I'm life coaching with new clients. I'm still offering business coaching. I'm going back to school, guys. I don't think I told anybody this officially publicly, but I have officially enrolled into school and I start school actually in, I think tomorrow will make a whole week. I have a week until school starts. So I'm not going to put too much on my plate to show up for the podcast and show up for YouTube. Like YouTube has the set in stone day for Friday. I do upload shorts in between the weeks, like in between the days throughout the week on my YouTube channel. But I think I'm going to stick to committing to my Mondays being pushed out for podcasts. And then if I can do a little midweek inspiration encouragement, then I will continue those 5-minute encouragements because I know you guys love those on the audio. So let's get into it, y'all. The 10 lessons that I have learned in 2024. And this, some people say, oh, it's been a hard year. Some people say, oh, 2024 was terrible. Me, I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say it was a learning year. It was it was a year full of lessons. Okay. I have had lessons from relationships, friendships, relationship with myself, my relationship with God, my career, my business, like everything, y'all. I feel like it's been a lot. It's been a lot. And we're going to go through those 10 lessons right now. All right, we are pulling up the lessons learned in 2024. Number one, and I don't necessarily want to say that these are in chronological order through a specific level of how I feel intensity wise. When I first start jotting down the lessons, I just thought of the things that came to my mind, and then some things were revealed to me going day to day and realizing, okay, yep, let me add this to my list. So some of them, believe it or not, I feel like from the bottom to the top should be opposite. But I'm just gonna start from one and go all the way down to 10. I have 10 lessons, but knowing me, there is a possibility that there may be more. There may be a bonus one, so we'll see. So lesson one out of 2024 that I learned is to choose myself. No matter who may come into my life or what I encounter, I must always choose myself. Now, I have been saying this for years without really knowing what it meant and also not really applying it to my life. This 2024 year, I decided to get a little bit selfish. Some people say choosing yourself, loving yourself is selfish, but I digress. I disagree completely. I feel like choosing yourself is what every single human should be doing. You should be choosing yourself simply because, like I said before, this is your life, not nobody else's. And whatever happens through your life day in and day out is based on what's going to happen. I think of when you think of choosing yourself, think about how do you want to be remembered? How do you want the day that you are no longer here and people gather for your service? What do you want people to say to you? What do you want people to walk up to that podium and say, right? What words would you like to hear? Like, obviously, you're not here to hear it, but what would you like, right? And I think when I say to choose myself, I really think to choose the things that are best for me, choose the things that I want, not what other people want. And that's not to say that, I am inconsiderate of what other people want as well, because that's not the case. I am simply just choosing myself based upon the fact that this is my life. I can do what I want in my life. When I was from the newborn stage up until about, well, my timeline was a little bit different, but the normal, average human is from birth up until 18, 21, sometimes depending. I got cut off the whole listening and having my parent me and raise me at the age of 16 because I had a kid at 16. So at that point, I had to put my big girl pants on and do what I had to do. Okay. But at that moment when you are out of your parents' care, and they're always gonna love you, don't get me wrong, but when you're out of their direct care and it's time to start making decisions for yourself, this is the time where you start to choose yourself. And if this message is for anyone who may be in their 16, 17, 18 years of age, even though I recommend y'all to be over 21 if you are listening to this podcast. But if you are a young girl, a young guy that listens to this podcast, I encourage you to start choosing yourself now if you're at that age. Don't do what your friends want you to do. Don't do what your boyfriend, your girlfriend wants you to do. Don't do, start to branch out, from what your parents have taught you, from, what you have learned, what you observed from seeing your parents grow up and, raise you. Start to seek that identity for yourself. I tell a story all the time. I went years living for other people. I even wrote this in my first book of how I had to ultimately make the decision to choose to be positive because everything that happened in my life up from the age of 22, 23, it was chaos. It was trauma. It was just a mess, right? And I always kind of just went with the flow. I went with what this person wanted me to do. I went with, the way my mom wanted me to do it. I was just doing things for other people. Start to identify your life for yourself because you don't want to be me. I was 24, 25, really starting to get a grasp and have an identity for myself. And even to this day, there are some things that I do not know about myself because I've always held that view and perspective of what other people wanted me to be like. But really think and sit back and say, what do you want, right? I tell myself all the time, well, what does Siera want? Even in this light of, and I'm not going to get off track, y'all, because I'm about to go to number two. But even in this life of evolving and about to go into my 30s, I'm excited, but I'm kind of scared, okay? But I even interact with a lot of people and they're like, oh, well, what do you want? Da, da, da. And I could tell them like off rip some of the things that I could do. But when it gets into the deeper in depth things, it's kind of like, well, I actually don't know. I don't know. So start to identify yourself as early as you can. Like I said, if you are in your late teens, coming into your 20s, or if you're in your 20s, before 25, start to figure out what it is that you like. Figure out what it is that you don't like. Figure out some desires, some goals, some aspirations that you have. Because if you go so many years without actually figuring out who you are, um, that's when most people become lost. So choose yourself, okay? I've definitely learned lesson one of 2024 to choose myself. Now let's get into number two. I'm gonna take me a sip of my smoothie. Okay, so number two says, don't waste time on things that don't make sense. If it is something, I have to question that it is not for me. So, like I said, my year 2025, my word is alignment and doing things that God sees for me to do and accomplish in this life. I tell people all the time, and this is kind of going back to creating that identity for yourself. Once you start to create the identity and know what it is and who you are, I want you to start paying attention to the things that are not in alignment with your life, right? I have a theory, okay? I have a theory that a lot of the times that our life doesn't go the way that we see for it to go, one is because God did not see for us to do that thing. Two, we are not ready to receive that thing that we want. And that is because we are doing things that are wasting our time and distracting us and allowing us to be far, 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 far away from what we are supposed to be doing. That's all I got for number two. Okay. Don't waste times on things that do not make sense. If you got to question it, if you're like, oh, and I have to tell myself this all the time when it comes to dating. Oh, but what if this person and why is it not like this? And I have to tell myself, if this is from God, I wouldn't have to question. I wouldn't be confused. I wouldn't be uncertain. I would know. And that alone allows me to move away from people and things and all the time because I can't waste no more time. I can't. One thing we cannot ever, ever, ever get back is time. Once it's gone, it's gone. Number three, um, the third lesson that I learned in 2024 was to stand firm on my boundaries. I've created the boundary because they are aligned with my values and core beliefs. So I must stand on them no matter who or what may get left behind. So all of these things start to have a pattern, and you'll see alignment is something that is a must for you, for me, for all of us, right? We must continue to do the things that are aligned for our life. Now, again, we may not really know what that may be. We may have an idea, we may have a thought, right? And every thought that we have may not come into fruition. But some of the ones that you feel real strong or powerful about, we have to make sure that we are in line. Boundaries. I started setting boundaries in the year, I want to say it was either 2022 or 2023. I can't really remember, but I start to realize in the relationship that I was in that I had no boundaries. I had no boundaries with work at the time. I had no boundaries with business. I had no boundaries with friends. I even didn't have boundaries with my family, my mother, my friend. Like I didn't have boundaries, right? So I really start to, and I believe we had an episode about boundaries on the podcast. If you scroll back to the beginning, and I highly recommend even my people on YouTube. If you want to look up, it's now going to be Open Spaces with Siera Vernice, but we used to be called Self Express with Love. Love Kills. Ooh, almost lost my breath. Um, but if you go back, I recommend to start at the very beginning of the podcast episode because you'll see the evolution of me as well. But you'll also learn a lot. So I think 2022, 2023 was my year of starting to set boundaries because I start to realize that people were walking all over me. I'm building up this identity and I'm becoming who I need to become. But I still have people disrespecting me. I still have people trying me. I still have people getting away because I don't have anything set in stone saying this is that, right? So I encourage you to stand firm on your boundaries once you start to create them, identify them, create them, think on them. I even have boundaries with myself as well. Some of my boundaries are that I can't be on my phone longer than 5 to 10 minutes if I'm not doing anything productive on my phone, because a lot of times we get drained and washed by having our phones in our hand. Like it's 2025, it's bound to happen. But again, if you start to pay attention to the time and how you manage it, you'll never get that time back. So that's one of the personal boundaries that I have within myself. Another boundary that I can say that I have is to not let anybody dim my light. That is one of my strongest boundaries that I stand on. Mother, brother, sister, cousin, friend, whoever. Nobody is allowed to shut me down. Nobody is allowed to no, don't say that. Ain't nothing about me, ain't nothing about Siera that has ever been sugar coated, that has ever been tiptoeing. I hate to feel like that. I went through years of relationships of tiptoeing and hiding who I am and masking who I truly want to be. I'm not doing it. Stand firm on your boundaries. Um, four. Now this is a good one. This one we take a little slight turn into something different. Number four says to Number four says being financially stable starts with having self control. Just because I have the money doesn't mean I have to spend it. Now, this was a huge lesson for me, y'all. Taking it back to 2021 when I had hit my first six figures, I had realized after probably a couple of weeks after I hit my six figures, I hit it again. Had to pay the taxes, had to pay the employees, had to do all the things, right? Had to restock the inventory, did all the things. And then I had some money that was just sitting in my pocket, and I was just like, if we ball, going to the clubs, going to the bars. When I tell you, I probably spent $10,000 in a weekend every weekend in 2021. That's why I said some things I don't want to take into my new 2025. That's my 2021. Okay. Um, but I always felt like that. And I feel like I don't know enough to speak a lot on this because I am actively working on my financial stability. Um, I recommend reading the book, The Psychology of Money, because that's what I'm actually reading right now. But one thing that I learned when it comes to being financially stable is that you do not have to burn a hole in your pocket. And I remember when people used to say that when I was younger, and I was just like, man, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, man, whatever, it's my money. It's going to come back. That mindset out the door. Out the door. Yes, the money may continuously come because you're getting a check every 2 weeks, or your business is thriving, whatever it may be, or you got some money coming in from somebody. However you get your money, you get your money. I ain't mad, okay? But what we have to realize is that sometimes the money may not come back. And just because it is coming back, that doesn't mean that we have to spend it. That doesn't mean that we have to find a place to go and spend it. So now, when I have the sudden urges where I'm like, I need this, but I don't really need this right now, and I got the money, and I paid my bills, I got some floating money. Let me just go ahead and grab my phone and get on the Amazon. And no, that's just like yesterday. I spent my Saturday in the house, and I wanted to get some stuff for the business, for my creator space in my house. And I was just like, nope, you can wait. There's nothing. You know where you're going to shoot your content at. You know where you will record your podcast at. You got the setup ready in your mind. There's no reason to go spend no money. So just because you got it, that don't mean you got to spend it. Okay, save it. My sister actually bought me the famous savings envelope. It's 100 savings envelope that you basically go to save from $1 to $100, and I believe at the end of it you will have $5,050. So I am on that journey. I will, check back in with y'all to see how that goes. But yeah, I am learning that being financial stable begins with you having self-control, and self-control can go a long way in a lot of different things, not just finance. All right, number five. Number five. Whew, let me take a sip of my smoothie before we get into number five, y'all. Because number five, it was a lesson that took me a very long time to learn. Okay, I should have got my water too. Um, yeah, YouTube, y'all getting the real raw Siera. Although the first episode was the real raw Siera, but I'm not editing my podcast videos because I like them to be authentically me. This is open spaces. You get what you see. Um, I'm not cutting nothing. I'm not clipping nothing. This Y'all get this fully unedited. The most y'all might see is obviously like the things that gotta pop up and let y'all know to subscribe and da 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 and all of that. But yeah, I'm not clipping none of this. Y'all getting all of this, okay? Um, okay, lesson number five. And I feel like if I had to prioritize this lesson out of all these lessons, this would definitely be my number one lesson that I had to get pushed in my face 1,010 times for me to actually learn it. Okay. Number five says, no one is coming to save me. No one is coming to save me. No one is coming to save you. Um, Whatever it is that I want out of my life, I gotta go get it. I gotta work for it. I gotta do it. Because my mom's not here to hold my hand anymore. She did all she could do to raise me, to allow me to grow into who I am. But nobody's gonna come save me. I'm not the toddler anymore. I'm not the infant. I'm not the kindergartner. I'm not the fourth grader. I have to do this on my own. And so do you. And it's a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. Lord, I know. It's a hard pill. But if you want your life to be a specific type of way, you have to be the one to work for it. You have to be the one to go after it. Point blank, period. My bad, y'all. I just hit the mic. Yeah, it was definitely a hard lesson that I had to learn, but I'm here. I'm learning it. Okay. I'm doing it. Number six. Number six says, love your life. Live your life based on your values. Stop living based on other people's perception of you. Live off of your values. So here's the thing. This is a word that I always used to hear: value your life, have core beliefs, have values, yada, yada, yada. And it wasn't until recently that I got into a program that kind of is teaching me how to just build and be a better person. But it emphasized a lot, and I went to a conference as well in November, and it emphasized a lot about living your life, whether it's your workplace, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends, living your life based upon your values. Living my life constantly off of other people's perceptions of what they wanted me to be, and doing the things that they wanted me to do. I am now living my life based off of my values that I have set. My top 3 values are integrity, do what you say you're going to do, and say what you mean when you're going to do it. Transparency. I do not play. I do not sugarcoat. I do not beat around the bush. I do not hide half the truth. Sometimes I'm a little too transparent. Some people be like, girl, why you tell your business like that? Because there's somebody out there that is watching this, that's listening to this, or listening to anything that I post, and they're like, wow, I didn't know that other people went through this. So I have to be transparent. And I look at my transparency as my testimony. I look at it as this is what I need to do. These are the things that I need to say. Even me, right here, recording this. I don't have no script. I literally just have my notes on my lessons that I've learned, right? This is all just me being authentic and being real with myself. And my third value is honesty. Kind of one and the same. I have to be honest with myself. I have to be honest with you. I have to be honest with them. I have to be honest with everyone. And I think and I encourage anybody that interacts with me to have that same level. I want you to feel like you can be honest to me. I want you to feel like you can open up and talk to me. So those are my 3 top values, and I encourage you to implement some values in your life. If you don't have any, you can literally go to Google and find type in list of values, list of core values, and there's a ton of them. There's literally a lot. But those are definitely my top 3. I have an exercise that I do in my Let's Figure It Out session um, that helps my clients identify what their core values are. If you are interested in a Let's Figure It Out session, we can get into it. It is literally a 30-minute call where we basically dive into the problem that you are currently having, whether it is relationship problem, whether it is career decisions, whether it is personal goals, whatever it may be, right? We sit down and we say, you know what, okay, this is my struggle. This is the goal that I am trying to achieve. How can I get there? And we break it down and we figure it out all in that 1 30-minute call. And voila. Okay. So that's that. Where were we at? Number 7. Number 7 is one of my favorites, and this goes along with the theme of the whole lessons learned. And this is definitely one of my boundaries as well. Is I learned not to shrink myself for others. People pleasing is something that I always did, and I never even knew what it was until maybe a couple of years ago. I was a full blown people pleaser. You couldn't tell me nothing. I was people pleasing, people pleasing, people pleasing, doing all the things to make those people happy. When in reality, I should be focusing on my happiness because this is my life and I have to control it, right? Um, People pleasing is what you are doing. You are allowing people to dim your true authentic self to be someone they need you to be. And that's the sad reality of it is in this world, like I said, no one's coming to save you. You have to do the things that you want to do for your life in order for it to happen. Here's the thing about humans in general. We are only focused on what makes us happy. We are very selfish people. And it's, not to say it's okay, because it's not, but you have to look out for yourself because a lot of people would want you to move and be this certain type of way so that you can make them feel good about themselves. I actually had a little revelation the other day, and I was like, I let so many men in my life operate out of their ego and feel like they're winning. And oh, they got me, and oh, I played her, and now she da 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 da. When ultimately, I let you win. I let you operate in that ego. I didn't want to bruise your ego, and I and I put a video out on TikTok, and I might clip it into the YouTube video. I might clip it in. I might. It's a little harsh, but I basically told the men to humble themselves. So while I am sitting here on this lovely New Year day, I'm driving. I'm like, you know what? In my thoughts, in my mind, doing what I do all the time, right? So I tell myself, I'm like, I'm not going to record it. I'm going to keep this to myself, but maybe I should because maybe somebody need to hear this. Let's listen. So I've realized over the last couple of years that I have people pleasing aspects. I have been a people pleaser. I have been the girl who has always shaped and faked who I was to satisfy other people so that they could be cool, so that they could feel good about their ego. Let me humble y'all. And this is for anybody who feels attacked. Receive it, take it, because I'm posting it everywhere. I literally have guarded myself to be a specific kind of way for the sake of other people's happiness. This year and beyond, Siera is doing what makes her happy. So whether that's cutting you off and never hearing from me again, or if that's something so simply like I don't want to pick up the phone and I don't want to have the conversation with you, then that's what it's going to be. I'm doing shit for me, okay? For Siera. Literally, I do not care in the nicest way possible as I can say it about how things make you feel. I'm going to be considerate and compassionate when I need to be. But for anybody that is not for me and that is not supposed to be in my life, you literally will not drain me and make me lose my identity. No. And I suggest that y'all get your own identity and stop operating out of ego so that you can learn who you are today and not who this portrayed version of yourself is, because it's not true. And I'm going to tell you, everybody thought, oh, I was the nice sweetheart girl. I'm probably not going to be moving forward. And I humble a lot of my words a lot of the times to save your ego, to save your heart. Nah. But I hope that y'all have a great 2025, because I'm going to have a time. It's all about me. And if you want to be in my world, that's what's going to be. Because I spared you. I sure spared you. Because a lot of the times I knew that I was doing the people pleasing. I knew that I was only operating this way to make you like me more, or to make you feel like, you were the head honcho, you were winning. And some stuff, I'm not gonna sit back and act like I didn't realize the wounds and the issues that I was allowing myself to be in. Because most of the time I was very well aware that certain men that I dealt with weren't for me, but to satisfy their ego, to satisfy their perception of me, of how they want me to be, I went along with it. And sometimes it just fed my ego too. So we ain't gonna sit here and act like, everything all peaches and cream. But don't have people shrink yourself for others. Don't do it, because you'll look back like me when I had my revelation a couple of days ago. Like, I was so mad, but then I had to tell myself there's no reason for me to be mad. Let me forgive them. Let me move on. And I just know not to say that I'm going to be brutal and rude to anybody coming into my world new, but I'm not. I'm not going to tiptoe. I'm not going to dim who I am for the sake of you. I'm not going to shut out who the Siera Vernice that I see myself to be, so that the person that you want me to be can shine. Now, we're not doing that. Number 8. This is one of my favorites as well. Say no. Say no. It's a huge lesson I learned. I had to say no to a lot of people. I had to say no to my friends. I had to say no to relationships, situationships, habits that I used to have. No. The answer is no. You want me to do something? You want me to waste some time and ride around with you and do? No. You want me to come to your family? No. You want me to stay up all night and wait for you so you can come? No. The answer is no. Okay. When I don't want to do anything, show up or interact with something or someone, I am allowed to say no. A lot of my friends don't always like this, but they know that I am a person who is constantly evolving, constantly looking for that personal development, that self growth. I can't kick it with them every time they want me to do something. I can't go to the clubs. That's not my scene. I even said it before in the podcast before. I believe it was earlier in season 6, but I even said how I used to put myself out of the alignment that I was supposed to be in, because I always was jumping when my friends told me to jump. I was always going here and going here, going to this bar, going to this club, going to this event to satisfy them. And then when I got there, the whole time I was a girl in the corner with my drink in my hand, sitting there doing my little bob and being like, okay, while all my other friends is wild out. They having the time of their life. And internally I'm like, man, I'm ready to go home. Man, okay. Are y'all done? Did y'all get all y'all jiggles and shakes out? Like, I'm out of here. So yes, now and towards the end of 2024, and into 2025 and years beyond, if I don't want to do it, if I don't have the space, if I don't have the capacity, I'm saying no. And it may come off like, oh, why you being a, why you, why you not, why you being boring? I get it all the time. Oh, you being a party pooper. If it's not aligned with what I got going on and what I'm trying to get to, then it's a no. If it's going to take me out of my time when I know I need to be sitting down and doing X, Y, and Z, the answer is no. I literally, even when I sat here to come record the podcast, I had the option to sit with my son while he got his hair done and, bust it up with my friend. And I was like, well, that's not going to get me nowhere. I have to record this podcast. So no. And she didn't even ask me to stay, but I just pulled up, dropped them off. All right, I'll be back when I'm done. And I came and I set up and here I am. So yes, say no. I think it's really important for people. This is like melting. I think it's really important for people, especially people who have the tendencies of people pleasing, to start saying no. And it could be something so small, like it could even be if somebody asks you to do something and you sit back and you think like, oh no, I don't want to do it. Say no. I couldn't say no for the life of me, y'all. For the life of me, up until I want to say maybe 3, 4 years ago. But I start to really amplify and make sure and stand on it in 2024 that if I don't want to do it, if I don't have the capacity, I'm not doing it. No thanks. I'm good. Um, because I also feel like when you say yes and you agree to something and you know you really don't want to do it, then you're depleting yourself, you're draining yourself, you're allowing that people pleasing to, get heightened. You're allowing the things that you should be doing to get put on the back burner. Again, paying attention to the time and how you're operating, it really will change your mindset. So start saying no when you don't have the capacity or you don't simply want to. Number nine. Number nine. Whew, now, this is something that I had to learn when it comes to dealing with other human beings. Now, this is something that's particularly, when I wrote it down, it was particularly about my dating life. It says, everybody isn't the same way that I am. Just because I think, manage, operate, or act a certain way every doesn't mean that everybody else is going to do the same thing. Thing that I realized with dating alone and also just moving day to day and thinking the way that I think and, educating myself and being a better person, I start to realize that everybody don't act like me. Everybody don't think like me. People don't process their emotions and their thoughts like me. So I can't expect me out of everybody, right? And something else that kind of came a little bit more clearer to me towards the end of the year, especially in my dating, is that I had realized that sometimes I'm going to have to disqualify some people from out my life because they may not say, oh, hey, you're too good for me, so I'm going to walk away so that you can shine bright. Most people aren't going to do that. Most men aren't going to do that, right? Or I should say boys, because men know how to yummy, yummy. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger. But yes, I also had to start to pay attention to the way that other people were pouring into me. Like if I had to sit back and say, okay, with this person, I'm doing X, Y, and Z for this person, I'm pouring into this person, but this person can't even give me 20 minutes to talk on the phone about what I'm going through, right? I always got to listen to their problems. So I start to pay attention that everybody isn't the same way that I am. Everybody doesn't think, everybody doesn't act, everybody doesn't operate the same way that I do. So, although I'll give you grace when I need to give you grace, but sometimes, you know, other people's perceptions are not in alignment with what you got going on. So sometimes you gotta sayonara, okay? And number 10 says only have things in your life that are aligned with you and what you want for yourself, the career, the financial status, the man, the lifestyle, the woman, because that's just my personal tidbit in it. Do not allow anything or anyone to take you outside of your alignment. So ultimately wrapping up every lesson that I have learned in the year 2024, I have learned to not get out of focus. Do not get out of things that are not aligned for you. So like I said, my friends wanted me to go out and do this party, this event, this bar. The guy that wants me to continuously talk to him and text him and never go on a date. No. um, the career path that is allowing me to steer far, far away from actually helping people and changes people's lives and changing people's thought processes and thinking, going the whole complete opposite direction. No, right? We are making sure that we are doing all the things that are aligned for our life. So whether you want to own a home in the next 2 to 3 years, you need to make sure that you are focusing on saving money. You are making sure that your job is in alignment with the financial stability that you need to buy a home. Um, Even something so simple like you want to have a 20-year friendship with one of your friends, and it must be rooted in love, loyalty, and honesty. And you have a friend that's backstabbing you, that shows you no love, that shows you deceit. No, we must continue to do the things that are supposed to be in the right path to get us to where we need to be. Alignment, alignment, alignment. I cannot say it anymore. The year 2025 is the year of alignment. We must do the things that are aligned with our goals, our visions, and ultimately what God has for us. And again, like I said, some things we may not know, but God will reveal it to you. Ask Him. Go on ahead and ask Him for clarity. Ask Him for the wisdom. Ask Him to make sure that He keeps you on the narrow path. Ask Him for discernment. I don't know why that wasn't one of my lessons in 2024. I have learned that I have the gift of discernment. I just ignored it for many, many years. I ignored it for so many years because I wanted to do the people pleasing. I wanted to please others. I wanted to um, just make other people happy and not look at my own life and not look at my creator and say, how can I make you happy? Okay. That should have been one of my lessons. I guess that's a bonus on lesson number 11 is to listen to my discernment, build on that discernment, pay attention to it. Um, but yeah, y'all, I love 2024 because it was definitely a year where I have learned my lessons many, many times. A lot of them overlapped, a lot of them repeated themselves, a lot of them were around the same area. Um, and I feel like knowing that I mapped out these lessons for 2024, I now can go into 2025 strong, powerful, confident, brave, proud, passionate, happy, okay? Because I know that I self reflected and I thought about the things that I did wrong in 2024. And I thought about the patterns from 2022 and 2023 and how they could possibly affect my 2025. I start to realize that I have the control. I am the person who has the say so in how I want things to be to a certain degree, to a certain degree. Because again, I am not the creator, but this is my life, and I have the choice to make choices. And if I want my life to be a certain type of way, I have to really, I gotta come correct. I have to be honest with myself, and I have to make sure that I am doing all the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So let me go back to my notes to make sure I'm not missing nothing else, y'all. I am super ecstatic and I'm super honored to be here yet another day, yet another episode, yet another video to be able to share my message. And I hope that this has encouraged someone to find their lessons of 2024 before moving into 2025. Now we're here already, but that does not mean it is too late. It is never too late for you to start. Just make sure that you start to jot down. And it don't have to be 10 lessons. Like I said, I probably honestly and truly have more, but um, these are the 10 that resonated with me the most in 2024. And like I said, if you felt like you constantly were living the same pattern over and over again, and you're getting the same results, I tell people all the time, if you want things to be different, you have to do different things. And that's that. All right. I love y'all to life, and I cannot wait until next time. My YouTube people, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. If you really like this video, make sure you go ahead, like it, leave a comment, give me some feedback. I always love feedback. And for my audio people, make sure y'all leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast platform. We are on Amazon, we are on Spotify, we are on Apple Podcasts. We are all over, okay? So wherever you are listening to this podcast, or if you are watching, make sure y'all show love. If y'all have any questions, feel free to always DM me. We do have the Self Express Podcast Instagram page, but I haven't been on it. I'm going to try to change that to Open Spaces with Siera Vernice. But for now, if you want to connect with me on social media, all my accounts are Siera Vernice. My Instagram is at Siera Vernice _, but everywhere else is at Siera Vernice. So yeah, I love y'all to life. And until next time, bye.